Okay, so we're going to continue our review, and I want to remind you, you need to be listening to this and only do the problems from the video until you're directed to do so otherwise, okay? So here we go. Today we're going to be talking about multiplying a polynomial by a monomial, and so remember when the bases are the same, the bases would be like the x or the y or the z. We're going to add the exponents. That was one of those exponential laws. All right, so here we go. If we have h times the quantity of h plus 4, that means I'm going to use the distributive property, and I'm going to do h times h and h times 4. All right, and so the bases are the same. They're both h. They both have an exponent of 1. So 1 plus 1 is 2. So I have here h squared plus 4h. All right, so let's make it a little harder because this is review. All right, so I have here a negative 4g squared, times a quantity of 2g plus 7. And this is number 6 if you're following along on your paper. So I have here negative 4g squared. I'm going to do that whole thing times 2g, okay? And I do negative 4g squared times 7. And when I do that, so now I have here negative 4 times 2, all right, and g squared times g, all right? So it's the same as negative 4g squared times 2g and negative 4g squared times 7. And I'm going to take negative 4 times 2, and that's negative 8. G squared times g is g to the 2 plus 1, which is g cubed, minus 4 times negative 4, or excuse me, plus negative 4 times 7, and that is negative 28, and g squared. All right, notice they're getting a little bit harder, and this is number 11, if you're following along, number 11. So we have here 3xy times a quantity of x squared plus xy plus y squared. All right, so we're going to distribute that 3xy to all three terms. All right, and so I have here 3xy times x squared, 3xy times xy, and 3xy times y squared. Now let's just look at each term. I have here 3xy times x squared. Well, I see that I have x and x squared, so that means I have 3 times x to the third power y. And then I have 3xy times xy. That means I have an x times an x and a y times a y. So I have a 3x squared y squared and 3x times y times y squared. That means I have a y times a y squared. So it's going to be 1 plus 2, which is going to be 3xy cubed. Okay, so now let's step it up one more time. Look at this one. It says distribute, then simplify. All right, so notice I have the negative 2x times the quantity of 3x minus 4. Then I'm adding 7x to that. The only thing that is getting multiplied by is that quantity of 3x minus 4, and that's being multiplied by the negative 2x. So that means I'm going to distribute that negative 2x to the 3x, and negative 2x to the minus 4. So now I'm going to have negative 6x squared, times plus 8x plus 7x. Now I look at that and I say, oh, wait a minute. I have like terms here. And so now I'm going to have a negative 6x squared plus 8x plus 7x is 13x. So negative 6x squared plus, 15x. Sorry, I misspoke there. All right. Let's do one more, and this problem is number 18. Number 18, I have here y times the quantity of y plus 4. And then I have a negative y or minus y times the quantity of y minus 3 minus 9y. Now, the y on the multiplied by that whole quantity of y plus 4, and the minus y is multiplied by the whole quantity of y minus 3, and then I have that I'm subtracting a 9y in the end. So let's do some distributing here. Remember, I'm doing that whole thing, and notice I circled that minus y from the very beginning because I wanted you to see that. Remember, back when you learned how to do integers, you may have been taught to then rewrite it as an addition problem, and it would have been a plus a negative. So that's why I keep saying it in all these different ways, so that you know you are multiplying that quantity of y minus 3 by a negative y. So when I do all of my multiplication, I get y squared plus 4y minus y squared plus 3y, because remember, a negative y times a negative 3 is a positive 3y minus 9y. Now I look at all of my like terms here, and I have a y squared and a negative y squared, and when I add those two together, they are going to cancel out because y squared minus y squared is 0y squared. Then I have a 4y and a 3y, which is 7y, minus 9y is going to be a negative 2y. All right, so notice I did a couple different ways to add and subtract here. Today, the way I showed you is the way Mrs. Sintov likes, where she boxes in triangles, circles, underlines her different like terms and adds them that way. So now there's a geometric application, and it's on your back page, but the problem I'm going to be doing is not the same problem. You are going to need to do this problem in that blank space, and there is blank space here. I would maybe do it at the bottom because you are going to have to do the geometric application later today, or maybe you just want to do it on your own piece of paper. So let's look at this problem. All right. So I want you to draw this picture, and I want you to write these directions. Find the area of the shaded region. So you're going to have a big rectangle, and then on the inside you're going to have a smaller rectangle. The dimensions of each are going to be as followed. Here, of the bigger rectangle is 8x by 4x minus 7, and the smaller rectangle is 4x by 2x minus 3. Length and width don't matter, but I do want you to remember that you are going to have to memorize all of the formulas. Your formula sheet will not have the formulas for like area of a rectangle or area of a triangle, and they expect you to know that on your state tests. All right, so area of a rectangle is length times width. I always write it down. No matter, even if I know it, I write it down. I'm going to do the big rectangle first, and it doesn't matter if you find the area of the big rectangle or the small rectangle first. It doesn't matter, but I keep them separate. So I actually write the words big or big rectangle. And when I do that, I get 8x times the quantity of 4x minus 7. I check to make sure I wrote it down correctly, and I did. When I do the distributive property, I get 32x squared minus 56x. All right, now I'm going to do the area of the small rectangle, and that's going to be same exact formula, length times width. All right, and so I have here 4x times 2x minus 3, and when I do the distributive property, I get 8x squared minus 12x. But the directions say to find the area of the shaded region. So that means that I'm going to remove from the area of the big rectangle the area of the small rectangle. I'm going to find the difference of the areas. Okay, so now I have here 32x squared minus 56x, and then I'm going to subtract that whole entire quantity of minus 8x squared minus 12x. Okay, so now that means I'm going to distribute that minus sign to everything on the inside of that quantity, and I'm going to get 32x squared minus 56x. That's still the area of the big rectangle. And I've changed the signs on the inside of my parentheses. And now I'm just going to combine my like terms. 32x squared minus 8x squared. And minus 56x plus 12x. And when I do that together, all right, I'm going to get 24x squared minus 44x. Ladies and gentlemen, you don't have to do any more problems today. We are going to be working on the problems in class tomorrow. So please make sure that you don't do any more problems today. And I will see you tomorrow.